It's on you guys. Talk to me. Defense, backers, whatever.
A guy like Maema, who's started out slowly in his career here, became a starter last year. Is he one of the guys who needs to be a leader for you both on the field and in the locker room? Because he is one of the older guys and has some experience. And is he comfortable in that role if needed?
I think he really is comfortable in that role. I think he always has been a team leader, but that role's grown since he had as much success as he had on the field last year. I think the big thing for him is he is continuing to improve his football IQ and instincts and experience, but don't put too much pressure on yourself. Last year, the expectations were whatever. People didn't really know who he was.
Yeah.
You have a really good year, your name's in the media a little bit, all of a sudden sometimes you put a lot of pressure on yourself. So we're just working on relaxing and playing. He's doing a good job of it.
Braylon mentioned how good of a pass rusher he can be. What makes him a good one in your mind?
Well, first of all, he packs a huge punch. So after he's hit guys in the face a couple times, they're bracing up anytime he comes at them. But then he has the ability, especially on interior blitzes, to reduce his shoulder and turn his shoulders, and it's twitchy the way he does it, so he gets guys to miss. And it really is set up, though, because of his power. And after he hits you in the face a couple times, that's what you're concerned about. And then all of a sudden, boom, shoulders turn, and he's able to lean that edge.
How significant of a role do you think those inside linebackers are going to play in the pass rush?
In the pass rush?
Yeah.
It all depends. You know, if you're getting the pressure out of the guys that are already aligned up there, then you want to let that roll as much as you can. That would be the standard answer. I mean, you've seen us, though. We try to bring things from different directions, and we try to do some different simulated pressures. And because we try to be multiple, they're heavily involved. But the better the front's doing, the less involved they might be.
You could teach inside linebackers a different way of looking at film or different things to study watching film to rush the passer?
It's a good question. So, you know, the first thing is in your game plan, obviously you're trying to get situations where you can isolate linebackers on backs. First thing you have to understand as a linebacker is the offensive line spends about 80 hours a week just walking through blitz pickup, so you're not going to be free. You can't get frustrated when the blitz doesn't get you free, right? Yeah, we try to set it up so that we can get you one-on-one with a tailback, but the offense spends all their trying to set it up so that they can turn the protection and get an offensive lineman on. But what you're anticipating, I think, is first and foremost. But in terms of film watching, it's not quite like a defensive lineman where you might just study that left tackle because that's who you're going to be going against all day, because it's a different guy every single time.
You know, we've heard the number 22 thrown around by coaches and players about, you know, you have 22 guys on offense, 22 on defense. How close are you to that number on a unit overall defense, where you can feel comfortable?
Most of the positions, I feel like we're there.
Okay.
Most of the positions, I feel like we're there. There's a couple we're still battling to figure out who those guys are. Some of the positions you feel like the 1Bs, for lack of a better term, are darn near equivalent with the 1As, and then that's fantastic.
Okay.
Because especially like we're rolling the defensive line a lot, they're doing a great job of it. Hey, if you only have to go 4 plays in a row, how crazy, physical, violent, aggressive motor can you be if you know you're only going 3 or 4 plays? So if we can get as many positions like that as possible, it'll make us that much more physical, that much more fast, and that much more confident. And healthy at the end of the year, too.
Who said down in Indianapolis that Jordan was going to have to earn some trust back, kind of earn his position back after his mistakes this summer? How do you think he's done that here in camp so far?
By closing his mouth and working. And he has, you know. He's never hung his head, no matter what the situation is or who he's running with that day. He just closes his mouth and works, and we know he's a good football player. His teammates love him, so there was never any issues about earning trust back with his teammates. They love him, but credit to him, he's just shut his mouth and worked.
For Jake Chaney, just how does he continue to progress? We've seen him come through on blitzes before, come through, some pressures during preseason camp.
Yeah, he's really impressed me this camp. He has a great combination of the ability to know when to play physical and when to use his twitch to make blockers miss, right? Probably has as fast a 0 to 10 quick burst acceleration as anybody maybe on the team. So That's great for a linebacker because usually you're not running 40-yard dashes. It's the window opens. Are you through it? Because it's shutting almost instantaneously. He's getting the mindset that he's a guy that can be a playmaker too. You know, not just sitting back and saying, Jordan Maema, you got this. If you need a break, let me know. Like, he's attacking it. He has a skill set that's impressive.
Mike, we've seen in the first couple of weeks a number of different guys getting reps in that dollar look with the reserves. Christian Allegra comes to mind, Preston Sackman. Who else do you think, other than Hunter, would you expect to potentially fill in?
So you name the guys that are getting a lot of the reps. You know, a number of the safeties can roll through that spot. Aiden Vaughn from the linebacker room has rolled through the spot. There's even some of our outside backers that have as well. But you hit the nail on the head with the guys that have gotten most of the reps. And it really is a little bit dependent on what the safety depth and what the linebacker depth looks like as to who's playing the dollar spot.
Mike, you talked with the outside linebackers about playing that knockback 5 in the dollar. Where did that kind of come from for you, like in terms of the scheme of the defense and kind of planning that out? And what's the challenge for those guys playing that role?
Well, we hope it allows them to be very, very aggressive. We hope it allows them to play football, not fitball. And when we say that, that means, hey, you're not just on the edge, standing here, holding the edge. You can take in the inside gap. You can be aggressive, and there's guys behind you that will make you right. You know, and really where it developed, Coach Fix, the innovator. You know, he's a defensive lineman and a defensive mind, and in a 3 down front, we didn't want those guys out there on the edges because there's too many gaps in the middle, but didn't really want them in the B gaps because you can get hammered on a down block, or it's very difficult to pass rush in there. So we're trying to find a happy medium that lets them be really, really aggressive, be football players, and let them know we got guys that have your back. So let's go be destructive.
You talked with Coach Mitchell the other day about your guys' history. How would you evaluate him as a player back at
He was a hell of a player. He was. Guy that had a motor just like we want these guys to have. Smart football player too. He's definitely a leader in his last couple of years. So, yeah, shoot, he was way up there and I was way back there. But I felt like he always had pressure on the quarterback.
For someone like Tyler Jansen, still, I know he enrolled early, but how have you seen him work and progress during his first preseason camp?
He made a big jump this fall. You know, I'll be real with you. Head spinning first spring, which is to be expected, especially at middle linebacker. You're making a lot of calls, checks, adjustments, and sometimes you get frozen thinking about those things, and you don't just play football. He's a smart kid, so he knows it significantly better now. So he's made a huge jump. Now he needs to continue to do that because we got 4, 5 pretty good, pretty experienced inside guys, but he is on the right track. I've been happy.
Another one of those true freshmen that made some big plays earlier in campus was Jonas Taclona. I know how badly you guys wanted him, but what has stood out about his game and what potentially he could give you guys this year?
So he's a football player, right? I mean, sometimes guys, when you're trying to develop that intensity or instincts, or, you know, Jonas is a guy you say, okay, he's a football player. He has confidence. He trusts himself. He triggers. You know, does he make some mistakes? Yeah, but he doesn't lose confidence when he does. He can take hard coaching. He believes he can line up against anybody, and you have to have that belief. He's a quick football player too. So he'll have the ability to be out there on the field and help us this fall.
Within that dollar role, you know, just how much does it change based on skill sets? Like someone like Hunter, who I know you've talked about before, you know, previous availability, but someone like a Zachman or an Allegro, and you know, how you try to fit that position towards their skill sets.
I try to do that with every single position, right? I mean, if you're talking about will linebacker, how much you blitz him? Is he an edge blitz guy? Is he an interior blitz guy? How much does he bluff up and back versus stand back at 5 yards as a traditional linebacker and read his keys? You try to play to a guy's strengths regardless of position. So, you know, across the board, you can talk about a nose. You know, is he more of a near type of guy who does a much better job matching the footwork of the center? Or is he a knockback type of guy? So we're trying to play to everybody's strengths. So that being said, the dollar position is a pretty damn versatile position. Excuse my language. The dollar position is a very versatile position. So who it is does determine a lot of what you do, or more likely how often you do it.
Luke talked about wanting to have potentially 8 defensive linemen available to play. In your mind, how close are you to that? I know you mentioned you're trying to figure out what your best 22 would be. Is that one where you're still trying to?
Yeah. So when we talk defensive linemen, we're talking about the guys with their hand in the dirt, not the stand-up outside backers. We're probably not quite to 8 yet, but other than if you're talking about goal line package, you never have more than 3 on the field at a time, typically. So do I feel like we're at 6? Yeah, I feel like we got 6 guys that can play. We're still building towards 8.